Right now, in Rowan County, Kentucky, there is a massive multi-agency manhunt underway.
Yeah, it's a very tense situation.
It is. Like, as of today, May 9, 2026, local residents are actively getting alerts on their phones.
Just telling them to lock their doors.
Exactly. Lock your doors, stay inside. Because two men who are officially labeled as dangerous by the state have just walked away from a local detention center.
Which is just a terrifying thought for anyone living in that area.
Right, and it forces you to ask, how does a modern, digitally tracked, physically fortified state corrections system just, lose two people?
Well, and more importantly, what happens when the optimistic math of prison rehabilitation collides with the terrifying visceral reality of a prison escape?
Yes, it's a huge collision.
It creates this immediate fracture in public trust. I mean, we are so conditioned to think of a justice system as an infallible machine.
Yeah, I think it's airtight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the data we're going to look at today shows a system that is incredibly complex, deeply human, and constantly trying to balance massive contradictions.
Which is the exact mission of today's deep dive. We are taking you straight into the mechanics of this system to understand the actual apparatus behind the headlines.
And we have some really contrasting sources to help us do that.
We do. We're pulling from a fascinating stack today. We've got the breaking news reports from Ground News on the manhunt itself.
Right.
We are also diving into the micro-level data with the Kentucky Online Offender Lookup, which goes by the acronym COOL.
Cool. Yeah.
And then we're zooming all the way out to the macro level with the Kentucky Department of Corrections 2024 annual report.
The contrast between those sources is honestly jarring.
It really is.
I mean, we have a state administration currently celebrating historically low recidivism rates on one side, right? And on the other, the chaotic, totally unpredictable nature of two men just vanishing into the Kentucky landscape.
So let's start with the reality on the ground. Yesterday evening, 29-year-old Michael Fogleman and 52-year-old James Smallwood managed to escape from the Rowan County Detention Center.
And the wording the Morehead Police Department used is interesting. They phrased it as they walked away.
Right. Which sounds almost casual.
It does, but the reality is anything but. The Kentucky State Police are now leading a multi-agency search.
Yeah, and just to give you the descriptions, Fogleman is 6 feet tall, 188 pounds. Smallwood is 6'1", 215 pounds. And the public warning is incredibly explicit. Do not approach them.
So when an event like this happens, the immediate public reaction is usually a desire for information.
Oh, absolutely. People want to know everything.
Yeah, they want to know who these men are, what their history is, and who else might be housed in the facility down the road from their house.
Which makes total sense.
And the state actually provides a mechanism for you to find that out.
Which brings us to the COSO database, the Kentucky Online Offender Lookup.
Have you spent much time on it?
I spent hours looking through this system for this deep dive, and it is a staggering piece of digital infrastructure. I mean, if I had to describe it, it's like a brutal, permanent LinkedIn profile.
Oh, wow.
Right, like a LinkedIn profile where your only listed skills are your absolute worst mistakes.
That is actually a very accurate way to conceptualize it.
Yeah.
It is the public-facing portal of a massive internal tracking net.
And it's huge.
Yeah, the Department of Corrections is legally obligated to maintain public records. So this database categorizes offenders across 14 state correctional facilities, dozens of county jails, assessment centers, community supervision offices, all of it.
But it's the granularity that really caught me off guard. You don't just type in a name and get a picture.
No, it goes way deeper than that.
Yeah, the system categorizes human beings using specific dual identifiers. You have a PID number and a DOC number attached to every single profile.
Right.
Wait, actually, before we move deeper into the data, what is the functional difference between those two numbers? Like, why does one person need both?
So it comes down to how the state tracks a person versus how they track a specific crime.
Okay.
The PID is the person identification number that is generated by the state police, and it stays with you for your entire life.
So that's just you, the human.
Exactly. It is your permanent numerical identity in the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
The DOC number, however, is the Department of Corrections number.
Okay, so that one changes.
Right, because that one is tied to your specific incarceration or your current sentence.
Oh, I see.
So if you serve your time, you get released, and then you reoffend 10 years later, your PID remains exactly the same. But you are assigned a brand new DOC number for that new stint in the system.
So the system is tracking both the lifelong human and the specific legal event.
Yes, simultaneously.
And you can actually see these legal events broken down into drop-down menus on the site. You can filter by escaped inmates, which is obviously how Fogleman and Smallwood are currently tagged today.
Right.
But you also see categories like pretrial diversion and absconded probation.
Yeah, those categories mean very different things. Pretrial diversion means someone hasn't even been convicted yet.
Wait, really? They're in the database without a conviction?
Yeah, they've been diverted into a program, like maybe drug treatment.
Yeah.
And if they complete it, the charges might be dropped entirely. But they are still tracked in COEL.
Wow.
Absconded probation, on the other hand, means an individual was out in the community under supervision, checking in with a probation officer, and they simply vanished.
They just stopped reporting.
Exactly. They dropped off the map.
And you can filter all of this by physical location, too. Like, you can literally select Rowan County Detention Center from a menu and just see a grid of everyone assigned there.
Complete with mugshots.
Complete with mugshots. And broad charge categories like dangerous drugs, burglary, homicide, and flight escape.
It's a lot of public information.
It is, but there is a massive legal disclaimer plastered right on the homepage of this database that completely reframes the experience of using it.
Yeah, the state is walking a very precarious legal tightrope with COEL.
How so?
Well, they are balancing the public's right to know with the state's liability for the safety of the individuals in the system. So the disclaimer explicitly warns that while the information is entirely public, using it to harass, intimidate, or threaten an offender is a criminal offense punishable by law.
You can really see the friction there. The state is essentially telling you, here is a map of where people who have committed crimes live, and here are their faces, but you absolutely cannot use this tool for vigilante justice.
Exactly. Look, but don't touch.
Right. And it forces you to wonder if the KOL database is the micro view, like the individual building blocks. What does the whole building look like?
That's the macro view.
Yeah. If we step back from the manhunt in Rowan County, who actually makes up this massive population?
To understand the architecture of that population, we have to pull from the Kentucky Department of Corrections 2024 annual report.
Okay, what does the data say?
This is where the macro level data lives. If we look at the incarcerated population, so the individuals physically behind bars, it is overwhelmingly male, like 88%.
88%, okay.
And the demographic breakdown is 74% white, 22% black, 2% Hispanic or Latino, and 2% other.
And what about the people out on supervision? You know, the ones walking around in the community?
For supervised clients, those on probation or parole, the gender gap actually closes slightly. It shifts to 71% male and 29% female.
That's a noticeable jump for women on probation versus behind bars.
It is. And racially, it moves to 78% white and 18% black.
But the demographic statistic that really made me pause, the one that stood out, was the age breakdown.
The aging population.
Yeah, because James Smallwood, one of our 2 escapees right now, is 52 years old. And according to the 2024 report, a full 20% of the entire state inmate population is over the age of 50.
Which is wild to think about.
And for supervised clients, it's 21%. That is a massive demographic block. Why is the prison population so old? Like, are our state prisons slowly turning into nursing homes?
Well, what you're seeing in that data is the echo of legislation that was passed decades ago.
You mean from the 80s and 90s?
Exactly. In the 1980s and 1990s, there was a massive wave of tough-on-crime policies across the United States. Truth in sentencing laws, mandatory minimums, 3 strikes laws.
Right, where everyone was just getting locked up for a long time.
Sentences got significantly longer, and parole became much, much harder to achieve. So the people who were given 30 or 40-year sentences in 1995, they were in their 20s then.
Oh, I see.
Today, they're in their 50s and 60s. They have basically aged in place.
Man, that changes the entire operational mandate of a prison. If 1 in 5 inmates is over 50, a state penitentiary isn't just a place to lock people away anymore.
No, not at all.
It has to function as, like, a state-funded hybrid of a high-security compound and a geriatric ward. The logistical and financial implications of that must be staggering.
They are massive. The Division of Adult Institutions, which oversees facilities housing over 60% of the state's adult inmate population, they aren't just budgeting for perimeter fences and cafeteria food anymore.
Right, they have to pay for medical care.
Huge amounts of medical care. They are budgeting for chronic disease management, mobility assistance, cardiac care, cognitive decline. A 60-year-old inmate requires radically different and much more expensive care than a 22-year-old.
And it's not just age-related healthcare either. The 2024 report outlines another massive health intervention happening inside the walls.
The substance abuse programs.
Yeah. They currently have 11,103 prison SAP beds available, and SAP stands for Substance Abuse Program. But how does that actually work?
It's incredibly complex.
Right, because how do you run a secure addiction clinic inside a prison? Especially when you cross-reference this with the Copwell database and see hundreds of inmates flagged for dangerous drugs.
Operating a SAP unit inside a prison is honestly one of the most difficult administrative challenges in corrections.
I can imagine.
It isn't just setting up a circle of chairs for group therapy. These are intensive, highly monitored units designed to combat the shadow economy of prison contraband.
Because drugs still get into prisons?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you are dealing with medical detox, dual diagnosis, mental health treatments, and cognitive behavioral therapy, all while maintaining strict security protocols to ensure drugs aren't being smuggled into the very units designed to treat the addiction.
Wow. So the state is pouring massive resources into healthcare, addiction treatment, and managing an aging population.
Yes.
But the ultimate goal of the Department of Corrections, ideally, is that these people eventually leave, right? They re-enter society.
That's the hope.
Which brings us to a massive philosophical collision.
Right.
We have an active manhunt happening today, an immediate threat to public safety. Yet the 2024 report impartially details the Bashir Coleman administration's intense systemic push for what they call second chances.
Yeah, the state is heavily investing in the philosophy of reintegration right now. The report frames this not just as a moral initiative, but as a calculated economic and public safety strategy.
Okay, how so?
Well, they have launched programs like the Jobs on Day One initiative.
I read through the mechanics of that program, and it's actually quite structural. It's not just like handing someone a pamphlet on their way out the gate.
No, it's very hands-on.
The state is trying to provide inmates with actual employable skills, certifications in welding, HVAC, CDL driving, and they're doing this while they are still serving their sentences.
Right, so the goal is that the moment they are released, they already possess a trade certification that employers actually recognize.
Which is huge. The governor even created a brand new website to connect this second chance talent directly with businesses.
Yeah.
And they established a 15-member governor's council of second chance employers to champion the hiring of formerly incarcerated people.
They are actively trying to engineer a pipeline from the prison gate directly into the workforce.
That's a massive shift in focus.
It is. And the administration has also made significant moves regarding civic reintegration.
Oh, the voting rights.
Exactly. According to the 2024 report, the governor utilized executive power to restore voting rights for Kentuckians with nonviolent, non-sexual offenses.
And the number on that was wild.
Yeah, as of the report's publication, 196,748 people have had their voting rights restored.
That fundamentally alters the civic landscape of the state. I mean, it's almost 200,000 people who are now reenfranchised voters.
It's a huge demographic.
But, okay, let's unpack this for a second.
Oh.
If you are a listener sitting in Morehead, Kentucky right now, listening to police sirens outside your window,
Yeah.
all of these macro-level policies, the vocational training, the voting rights, the second chance councils, it probably sounds entirely detached from your current reality.
Oh, absolutely.
So how does the state justify this massive push for leniency and reintegration when they literally just lost 2 dangerous inmates today?
Well, by relying on long-term statistical probabilities rather than isolated incidents.
Okay.
The state measures the success of these programs through a metric called recidivism.
Right.
In Kentucky, recidivism is strictly defined as an individual being reincarcerated within 24 months of their release from custody.
Just a 2-year window.
Right. If you go 2 years without being sent back to prison, the system classifies you as a statistical success. And the current data highlighted by the administration shows that the recidivism rate has dropped to 30.81%.
Wait, let's actually do the math on that because it's kind of staggering.
Go for it.
If the recidivism rate is roughly 30.81%, and the report states that nearly 13,000 individuals were released from state custody over the past 2 years,
Yeah.
that means almost 70% of them did not return. That's 8,930 people.
It's a big number.
Almost 9,000 individuals who walked out of the system, presumably utilized those SAP beds or jobs on day one skills, and just quietly went back to their lives without committing a new crime that resulted in prison time.
Exactly.
That is the population of a small city successfully reintegrating.
It is a profound systemic achievement. Now, To be completely objective with the historical data, that 30.81% is actually up a few percentage points from the state's historic low in 2020.
What was it in
It
2012?
was 27.15%.
Okay, so it ticked up slightly.
Right. But in the broader field of criminal justice, a system that achieves a near 70% success rate over a 2-year window is performing exceptionally well on a macro level.
But the people of Rowan County aren't experiencing a 70% success rate today.
No, they aren't.
They are experiencing the 30% failure rate in real time.
And that is the inherent tragedy of corrections work. The 8,930 quiet success stories, they do not make the evening news.
No, nobody reports on a guy going to work.
Exactly. A person getting a job as an HVAC technician and paying their taxes doesn't trigger a push notification on your phone. But a prison escape is a catastrophic, highly visible failure.
It's terrifying.
It is an immediate, localized breach of the social contract. I mean, the public agrees to grant the state the power to incarcerate under the strict condition that the state will keep the public safe from dangerous individuals.
Right.
So when an escape happens, it instantly shatters public trust. And no amount of statewide data or historical trends can alleviate the immediate fear of the community.
Which creates a really fascinating lens through which you, the listener, have to view this entire system. We started today with the urgent breaking news of the manhunt for Fogleman and Smallwood.
Yeah.
And then we dug into how the state tracks its population using the highly granular dual identifier system of the KO database.
Right.
We analyzed the demographics, revealing a system that is essentially acting as a massive geriatric ward and addiction treatment center for an aging population.
Yeah.
And we look at the friction between the state's aggressive second chance initiatives and the visceral fear generated by an escape.
So the core question you have to ask yourself is how you evaluate the efficacy of a justice system.
Yeah.
Do you measure it by its quiet, long-term statistical averages, the thousands of people who successfully reenter society, or do you judge it by its most alarming, immediate failures, the moments when the system fractures and the public is placed at risk?
It is a really heavy question, and it leads me to one final provocative thought that I want to leave you with today.
Oh, what was that?
Well, we just spent a lot of time discussing the state's massive push for reintegration, the governor's council, the specialized websites for second chance employers, the jobs on day one certificates.
Right, all the rehabilitation efforts.
Yeah. The state is spending millions of dollars pleading with society to let these individuals start over. But at the exact same time, the state operates and maintains the COAL database.
Oh, wait.
We described it earlier as a permanent, brutal LinkedIn profile for your worst mistakes. It is a highly searchable public engine where anyone, a potential employer, a landlord, a neighbor, can instantly pull up your specific crimes, your mugshot, your DOC number, and your past failures.
That's very true.
So do these two massive state apparatuses fundamentally cancel each other out? I mean, can a state truly engineer a system of second chances while simultaneously forcing every released individual to carry a permanently searchable digital anchor of their past?
That is a fascinating contradiction to think about.
It really is. It's something to consider the next time you look up a name. We'll see you on the next deep dive.